In this video, I'll be going through Valor, Shopify, as well as Nike module. We'll be reviewing initial releases, and we'll also be reviewing how to set up automations for restocks. First things first, when you open up the bot, make sure that you've gone through your settings page by setting up your webhooks. Make sure that's completed. Navigate over to your proxies page, set up your proxies, whether if that's ISPs or if that's residentials that you're planning on running. Make sure that you've inputted your profiles. And from there, once those are sorted out, what you're going to want to do is navigate over to the Captcha page and set up your Captcha harvesters. Now, with Valor, there's two ways that you can solve Captchas. One is your in-bot harvesters. So what does that mean? You'll create manual harvesters in here. You'll have them opened up. And as Shopify Captchas flow through, you'll solve them manually. How would you enable these or activate these? Well, first things first, make sure that you have Gmails. If you don't have Gmail, you'll need to purchase some. And then, of course, make sure that you have proxies that you've been actively farming on them with. So you're going to add the proxy in here. You're going to select the type of solver that you're planning to create. Once you've done that and you've selected it, click on the YouTube icon to complete the login process. And here is where you're going to add the email address, then the password. Once it completed its login, you may close the window and continue the same process. To open up your harvester, you'll simply select the Open Harvester button. And once it's open, just have it open in the background while your bot is open as well too. And when a restock occurs, or if when going for an initial release, a Captcha populates, it will push through into your harvester here. This is if you plan to solve manually. If you do not wish to solve them manually and you have AYCD and you'd like AYCD to take care of your solving for you, then what you will need to do is set up your AYCD's API token, which is found in the dashboard. From there, you're going to navigate over to providers. Inside of providers is where you're going to name it. You'll select the provider drop-down menu. So in this case, AYCD. You'll add the API token, and then you're going to select what type of captchas you want AYCD to solve for you. You have checkpoint, you have account login, you have checkout, JD group foot sites, and then easy supply, which no longer exists. Once you've selected these, you're going to set your concurrency. What is concurrency? Basically, it's how many captchas will be pushing through to AYCD at the same time. Now, in this case, it's by default set up at 1, so only one captcha will flow through. You can adjust this figure to a maximum of 100 if you like, telling Valor to push all 100 captchas at the same time. If you don't know what you're doing, just leave it as is. Make sure that the enabled button is toggled at the bottom there as well, so that this is completely active during all initial releases as well as restocks. Once you've gotten that added in, right here, the status will change from connecting to connected. Now you know that you've successfully established a connection. One more thing before I do close this out. You do see that there's two Captcha, Cap Monster, Cap Solver, and Anti-Captcha. These are third-party Captcha solver providers that you can actively use if you don't have AYCD. We have a section within the server that talks about third-party Captcha solvers. These guys operate on a top-up mechanism. So you would have to create an account, add money into there, and each captcha that gets solved takes from the balance that you've topped up. It's not as fast and not as effective as AYCD solving is, but this is an alternative option if you do not wish to have the AYCD bundle. This here will solve your recaptchas. If you want your H captchas to be solved as well, this is where AYCD AI comes into play. You do require the full Captcha Pass bundle. So what bundle was that? It was $49 a month. It includes the toolbox. It includes a $7 add-on for AutoSolve, and then the additional $25 a month add-on for AI AutoSolve. You're going to generate your API key from there. You're going to plug it into AYCD AI, which is that section right there. And once you've set that up, you've completed the setup the entirety of your Captcha solving mechanism. Once this is done, you're ready to get your tasks started. Navigate over to the task page. We're going to create an initial release for a Shopify drop. We'll just say that it's KIF. You'll create a task group, and within that, you're going to add your tasks. Select the site you're going for, which is in this case Kith. You're going to select the mode. Now the mode here is very important. In our release guides, no matter what website you're going for, I've included which bot mode you should be actively running. More than often, every initial release will have some form of bot protection. So preload is what I'll be selecting for an initial release. When it comes to keywords, Valor uses a plus sign in the beginning of it to indicate that this is a positive keyword that I want this bot to be going for. So we'll add our keyword in. Now, there's also negative keywords. You'll add those in like so, and you'll separate them by a comma. And a negative keyword is telling Valor to not look for those keywords and not match them up. Once you've set up your monitor input, assign your sizes to it. And then here is your monitor delays. By default, it's at 3,500. But if you pay attention to our guides, in our Shopify guide, we mentioned start off your tasks at 15,000, like so. Ride the queue. And about 30 seconds before the drop, as you're about to exit the queue, you're going to drop your delays down to 3,500. To start out though, this is what we're going to be starting with. Product quantity, leave it at 1. Minimum size is loaded, minimum price, maximum price, leave these all at 0 as is. Assign your profile group, like so. Set your monitor proxies. You can either divide them out, so you can have a separate set to just monitor the website and then a separate set for your tasks. Or you can leave them and have them both be exactly the same. Then from there, you're going to create your task group. Now you might be wondering what these are. If you toggle on app mode, if your website supports it, so in this case, Kith does. Kith also has an app. There are some occasions where some products will only drop on the app. In this situation, if you're aware of that, or if you're made aware of that, you would enable app mode to tell Valor to use the app module. More than often though, 99% of the time, all releases occur on the regular website, so app mode will not be needed. So please do make sure that you are paying attention to the release guides. Fast restocks is meant for restocks, and then connect monitor feed is a useful feature for when you're running SKUs or if you're running keywords. If you're running a direct link to the product, it's not going to be necessary. So we'll enable this, and then we're going to create our tasks. Now we've created 18 tasks. Drop time comes, I'll start all, and from there, I'll ride the queue. This is how you set up an initial release for Kith, or any Shopify site. Now we're going to set up for Nike. Nike has 3 different versions in here. First one is what's called default. What default is the default mode that will help you or allow you to enter sneakers raffles. So sneakers and Nike Plus app Leo or Dan raffles. Leo being 2 minutes while Dan being 10 minutes. You'll simply add the SKU in here. There is no plus sign at the beginning. You just add the SKU. You select your sizes. You're going to assign your profiles. And then in here, you will need to assign your accounts. How do we assign our accounts, or how do we add our accounts? You'll navigate over to the miscellaneous page. Inside the miscellaneous page, you're met with a lot of different buttons. I'll go through these shortly, but to start with, you're going to navigate over to the accounts page. And inside of the accounts page, you're going to create yourself a group. You can call this whatever you like. You're going to select the plus sign to add your accounts. As you can see, there's a format in place: email, password, or email, password, and proxy. Make sure you're following this format. Once you've added your account in, it will appear as you see in this area right here. Now that we've added this in, we're ready to go back and create our sneakers entries. Add our SKU, our size, set up our profiles, sneakers accounts. Now, one thing that you need to understand when it comes down to the selection process is that if your billing info and your Nike account info's email address matches and it's the same, then you can just select the match email to profile mode so that it connects both the account to the correct profile. If they have separate and different emails, then all you'll need to do is just select all. And in this case, it will randomly assign accounts to random profiles. You're going to select, add to proxy, enable re-enter on fail. This is very useful for Leo drops because if it fails, it'll re-enter. And then you're going to create your tasks. And that's it. Then from here, you're going to press start and it'll fire up your tasks for you. By default, if you look at the settings page here, your maximum concurrent browsers is set to 4, meaning only 4 will open at a time. Now, if you have a very good server or a very good computer, you can actually adjust this and you can change this to whatever figure you want, whether if that's opening up 10 browsers at once, 20 browsers, 30 browsers. You can make that adjustment accordingly based off of your needs in this area right here. Going back to the tasks page, I'm going to show you guys how to set up the other modules. So go back to Nike. You have shock drop mode, which is no different in setup than an initial default release. And then you have what is known as flow, which is first come, first serve. Same way to set it up, except the beauty of a flow module is that sneakers accounts are not to be used. If you want to use actual accounts, use non-SMS verified Nike accounts and make sure that they are not your sneakers accounts because you can get your sneakers accounts clipped. And the same idea is you'll set your SKU, you'll set your sizes, and then you'll create your tasks. And for flow, you'll just simply start your tasks about 3 to 4 minutes before the drop and allow it to ATC. This is how you would be setting up an initial release. Now let's get into the automation side of things. Going back to miscellaneous, I'd mentioned that there's a lot of different bubbles here. So you have Shopify, you have Nike, and then yes, you have foot sites. All of these 3 modules, in my opinion, should be renamed. State Shopify automations, Nike automations, and foot site automations. But they've decided to use this word instead. So with that being said, how do we get started? Now let's start with the Nike. You have your Nike monitors. And here you're going to create groups for yourself and you can name them as you like. You're going to navigate over to where it says add monitor. You're going to select the size ranges that you want. And then you're going to have to select or give the amount of minutes that you want your tasks to run for before it stops. To the right, as you can see in the placeholder, you're going to add your SKUs. That is the format you'll be following. There's no pluses, there's no negatives. Add them on top of each other like it's shown here. Set your profile group, set your proxy group, and then create. And once you've created them, if you're mass importing, they will all appear in this area right here. Shopify is no different. For the Shopify area, you're going to navigate over to Shopify Monitor. You're going to create a group. And then within the group, you're going to select the plus sign to add a monitor. You can name it for whatever you want it to call it. You're going to select the websites that you specifically want to monitor. Then you're going to fill out the rest. Set your size. Tell Valor how long you want the tasks to run for before it stops. So we'll just assume that we want to run it for 5 minutes. You have modes. This will not matter what you select, and I'll explain why in a minute. We'll just select normal. Again, doesn't matter what you choose. You have options to include minimum and maximum pricing if you want to avoid accidentally hitting up a site that may be selling the products at resale pricing. Set your monitor delays. You can leave them as is, or you can increase them if you like, entirely up to you. Just be very careful that you're not reducing it any lower than 3,500 because you don't want to burn your proxies. Set your profile group. If accounts are applicable, add them in. Obviously applicable on Undefeated and the Dark Side Initiative, for example, you'd be adding these in. Set your proxies, and then here is where you can configure the setup of your bot. What is auto switch mode? Earlier I had mentioned that the mode is not going to matter what you select, and that's because when you enable auto switch mode, you're telling Valor, hey Valor, I want you to decide which mode to fire off when automations occurs. This is a very effective and useful feature because if bot protection goes up, your tasks will fire off at normal or preload mode. If it's a fast mode restock, it's going to fire off tasks in fast mode. Very useful. You're going to want to make sure that you have enabled delete task group after stop. Now, the reason why I say this is because you don't want to flood your task page with a bunch of groups. So when automations creates tasks for you, it will then delete that task group afterwards, making sure that your task page is completely clean. A few other things to understand and know is, what are these? So you have search image URL, and then you have deep search. In the monitor input, you can add keywords, you can add links, or you can monitor with SKUs. If you're using a SKU, or if you're monitoring with a keyword, you want to make sure that you have enabled deep search, and you also want to make sure that you've enabled search image URL. Why? Deep search, as it states, it will deeply search the website more in depth to try to match up your keywords or your SKUs to the product that's been loaded. The search image URL actually uses the image that's loaded on the website, unique URL that it has, to try to match them up. Now you might be wondering, what does this mean? Well, let me show you. It's actually a very cool and unique feature. Let's find this here. Let's go to concepts. Excellent. Now, to demonstrate, how do you pull that unique URL? Well, it's as easy as copy image. There you go, copy address, and you can just paste it in here and it will show you. So as you can see here in this image, it literally states the keywords of the actual product. In addition to that, you have the SKU, and then outside the SKU, you're going to have the product variant. So Valor will also search for the product image URL to try to match up. When you're enabling both deep search and search image URL, you're increasing your chances of picking up the product significantly faster than you would expect. Make sure those are enabled if you have SKUs and keywords in there. One more thing to understand and know, which is this piece right here. This is crucial and extremely important. Checkpoint auto mass link change. There are some websites that will drop checkpoint. They'll give you about 10 minutes, or in some cases 30 to 45 minutes if it's Shoe Palace and Shop Nice Kicks, as a warning, so that you as a botter, what you can ultimately do is you can preload, solve your CAPTCHAs, and then mass link change. If you enable checkpoint auto mass link change, this will do this for you automatically. If Shoe Palace's checkpoint goes up, Valor is going to create task groups for you with random keywords. And what might those keywords look like? They'll look like something like this. Why? So that it doesn't pick up a product. Why? So that it works through the queue and you can solve CAPTCHAs. Or in this case, if you have AYCD set up, AYCD will solve the CAPTCHAs. Once your tasks are out of the queue and once all the CAPTCHAs are solved, what will happen is it's going to patiently wait until a product that you're monitoring restocks. If it restocks, it's going to automatically mass link change for you. So that's this portion of it. Now, another thing to also know, if you pay attention to this area that I'm circling right here, you can see that something appeared. It's called edit count. If I disable, edit count goes away. If I enable, edit count appears. Why is this here and what's this functionality? Edit count is basically you telling Valor that I want you to edit, mass link change a set amount of tasks. If you're actively running 10 different profiles and you're running one task per profile, that's 10 tasks that are going to be actively running during an automation restock. Shoe Palace and some other websites are notorious for restocking multiple items around the same time. If you don't set this up and leave it at default, all 10 of your tasks will automatically mass link change to the very first product that restocks. If you set an amount in here, it will only mass link change that amount. Let me expand on this a little bit more. We have 10 tasks. If I set my edit count to 3, the first 3 tasks will mass link change to the first product that it locates, while the remaining 7 tasks will wait for the next product to restock to mass link change. Product number 2 just restocked. What happens? The next 3 tasks will switch over and mass link change to that product. Now you have a total of 6 tasks that are actively ATC, picked up a product, while another 4 tasks are patiently waiting for the next restock. This is the feature of how the edit count mechanism works. It's very effective and very useful, and it allows you to be able to touch multiple pairs. Now, if you don't want to use the auto mass link change feature for checkpoints, what you can enable is checkpoint auto run link. So a few things that you need to know is, one, this is only link based. Keywords won't work. You need to have a link in there. And two, this is only useful in a time where there's only realistically a few links that you're monitoring. And a few, I mean under 5. Why? Because this feature and this function will create tasks. So basically 1 task per 1 link. If you have 10 different profiles and that alone itself is 10 tasks, and you have 10 links in there, that's 100 tasks that will be created and actively running at the same time. And more than often, a lot of these links that you're monitoring are probably not going to be restocking at the same time. So you're just going to be bogging down the bot and the Captcha solve. So I would refrain from using this unless you really, really know what's dropping, or if you have about under 5, I would say, links that are loaded up, and you're taking your chances and hoping that one of those 5 links are going to restock. Best practice in how I have mine running is like this. Once you've created it, here's what it will look like. So I have links in one category right here. I have my auto switch mode. I have my checkpoint auto mass link change. I have my edit count to 5. I've got about 30 profiles loaded in. 5 of them will switch, and it'll continue to wait, and it'll continue to cycle all the way through. And that's it. That's for my links. And then on this side, I have my SKUs. We have my Nike SKUs added in here, so that if one of these SKUs restocks on Shopify, it'll trigger, and it'll create tasks, and it'll ATC. This is the Shopify automation side of things. Footsites is no different. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but the setup process looks just like Nike. The reason why I'm not going over this is because the Footsite module hasn't been maintained and it hasn't been performing. So I wouldn't recommend really using Valor for Footsites at this time. But if you want to take your chances and you got proxy data that you want to burn, set it up as if you set up Nike. This is Valor in a nutshell. If you have any questions, of course, please make sure that you do open up a ticket. We're happy to answer them. When in doubt, review the guides, circle back to this video again. A few things that I will leave you with is that I did not go over that I want you to be curious about is going through these buttons up here. They created a very convenient way of being able to create tasks for yourself by selecting this button. You can adjust your Shopify delays directly from the delay monitor up here. You can open up their inbot feed, which is their inbot monitor, which is very nice because sometimes some monitor providers may not pick up a product that has released due to monitor issues. And if Valor is performing, of course, their monitor is performing, it should pick up in this area. You can take a screenshot directly from here so you can tweet it. You can access their documentation. And then, of course, up top, you have your notifications right here. That's it. Thank you so much for watching.